thinking of a master plan. This ain't nothing but sweat inside my hands. So I dig into my pocket, all my money spent. So I get deeper, but still coming up with lint. So I start my mission, leave my residence, thinking how could I get some dead presidents? I need money. I used to be a stick-up kid, so
Well, thank you all for coming. What I see out here is survivors. You made it through the entire conference. I know you've had a lot of meetings. I know you're all very tired. But Money 2020 has rewarded you by saving the best for last. I'm here with CEO of MoneyGram, Alex Holmes. And through talking to Alex and his people this week, I know that they have a lot of exciting insight both into what's happening in their company and also into the industry at large. So without further ado, we'll get into the questions.
Great. Yeah, no, I couldn't get a flight out either, so thanks for sticking around.
So I work in market research, and one of the things that we have a tendency to do in market research is overgeneralize, particularly in financial services. And one thing that we typically conflate is digital means good and non-digital means bad. But from talking with Alex, one of the things that I've learned is that there's a divergence between what a good customer experience is and a good digital experience is. So maybe you could talk a little bit about where those two diverge.
Yeah, absolutely, and thanks for the opportunity. It's exciting times in our industry, for sure. You know, we have prided ourselves for years on having one of the world's largest cash-to-cash money transfer networks, and in the last 3 or 4, we've really entered into the digital space in a much bigger way. It's now about 12% of our global revenues. It grew 48% last quarter. So clearly, we're seeing a need in the market for differentiated products, differentiated services, and we're able to build on that through our physical network. So when it comes to customer experience, we want to provide our customers with the absolute best customer experience possible, whether they transact digitally or whether they're going into any one of our locations around the world. And so having a consistent experience, setting expectations for them, knowing what those customers want in those specific markets is incredibly important for us.
Mm-hmm. So while we do generalize in market research, it does seem like things are moving to digital. Huh. And for customers that are in this market that are using bricks and mortar channels, right, they might not necessarily have an incentive to stay with MoneyGram after they move to digital because there's a lot of different products. So maybe you could talk about how MoneyGram intends to make their product sticky and whether or not you see a risk coming soon of commoditization of remittances in general.
Sure, yeah. No, I think that as I mentioned in the beginning, the market is incredibly dynamic and rapidly evolving, and technology has a lot to do with that. And so it's really exciting times. And what we've done in the last few years is deliberately entered into and put innovation into our core cash-to-cash product, and through new partnerships, through changing the relationships we have with our current partnerships, we've been able to do a lot to change the services that we provide to our customers. Many markets today, we now have kiosks to initiate the transactions. We have account deposit services available across 2 billion bank accounts around the world. We have mobile connections, online-based services, and some of that is direct through MoneyGram, and some of that is indirectly being given to the customers through our agent partners. And so we're seeing our agents evolve with us, we're seeing the market evolve around us, and it's really, really interesting because you got 2 billion individuals around the world, underbanked, unbanked. You have millions, hundreds of millions of migrants moving around every year. All of them have a need to send money home. And so certainly, as competition change, as their needs evolve, we want to be there to ensure that we're at the forefront of that innovation, that we're providing the best service possible, and that customers are choosing MoneyGram because of that innovative service that we have and the connections that we can create for them. Moving money cross-border is incredibly complex. Being able to do that with all the regulation, being able to do that real-time, instant, is incredibly valuable, and that's why customers come back. So putting that value proposition out there, talking to our customers, ensuring that they understand that value is incredibly important, and that's something we're very, very focused on. You'll see much more of in the coming years.
Mm-hmm. And so there's also the new market opportunity.
Sure.
So you have a lot of customers in the unbanked and underbanked segment, and then you have more affluent customers, particularly in the U.S., that are using products like Venmo, PayPal for domestic remittances. And while Venmo isn't cross-border yet. You
Right.
could see how it would be eventually. So what does MoneyGram do in order to lure those folks? Are you interested in luring those folks? Maybe you could speak a little bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think today we have a lot of customers that cross utilize different payment mechanisms for different services. And so certainly PayPal's and Venmo's, they have great products that allows money movement or oftentimes payments, sometimes small dollars, sometimes larger dollars, but it's often different from the service that we provide. Our service, generally speaking, is for instant family remittance needs. It's generally not for the specific purpose of fulfilling a payment. It's getting money into the hands of loved ones. It's getting money into the hands of friends and family, real time, instantly, oftentimes in cash. But now the ability to put it into a bank account, to link into a mobile payment platform is huge, and it's critical for us. And so what we're trying to do is really create an open API network. We want to plug into anybody, and so we actually see a lot of those competitors, if you will, as actually opportunity to partner as well. So around the world we have a lot of integration. So Urdu in Qatar, for example, using our platform to send money into places like M-Pesa in Kenya, where they can catch that money right into those mobile wallets. And so we're trying to do a lot of partnership approaches and not just go direct all the time. And it's been very successful for us, and it's exciting.
And you mentioned M-Pesa, and that is a really exciting partnership. And I'd love if you could tell us a little bit about how that partnership developed, why it's important, and perhaps whether or not that's replicable. Because I know with M-Pesa, they're part of Safaricom.
Yeah,
And Safaricom has a monopoly on the market.
Right.
So.
It certainly doesn't hurt. Yeah, we've been sending money to Kenya for a number of years, and the predominant way in which that money went was cash to cash. As M-Pesa evolved and really just took over that payments landscape and really created a new environment for people to transact and interact in the country, it became really important for us to ensure that our service connected to M-Pesa so that our product remained relevant for our customers, because the need to get money home didn't change, right? The means by which people transact in the country evolved and changed. And so today, we still have all of our bank partners that we have for cash payout. We've integrated with M-Pesa, and we've seen great growth as customers in places like the UK and the United States send money home. They now have the option, and the customer and the consumer, which is really in the end what it's all about, has the option to take that cash payment in any form that they want. In places like US and UK, they can now send online. So you're doing digital transactions through the MoneyGram network, and that's really exciting.
Another thing that's kind of interesting about M-Pesa is that they still use a brick and mortar agent network, even though all the transfers happen there. Yeah. So I just wanted to jump in real quick and ask you, I mean, will that brick and mortar channel ever go completely away?
It's funny, we get that question a lot, and I think it's an interesting time in the world. Everybody, fintech across, is looking for a new application, a new payment mechanism, a new way to interface, to interact, and what we're trying to do is stay as relevant as we can through those pieces. The reason that 86% or so of our transactions today are all cash to cash is because that's what the consumers want to do. It's not because we somehow require them to use cash. It's because that's their choice. And so, look around. Everyone in this room probably has cash in their pockets in some way. Sweden was on a big push to eliminate cash. Now they've backed off of that a little bit. So I think the need for brick and mortar is always going to be there. Buying goods and services in the marketplace, going into stores, going to locations, it's incredibly important. When you send money to places like Tajikistan, where something in the neighborhood of 46% of GDP is relevant from a remittance perspective. 25 billion goes into Mexico. Oftentimes, that money is being picked up, within minutes, and spent within 24 hours on basic needs. Food, shelter, rent, education is a great example as well. So getting the cash into their hands is important. Being able to utilize that cash in the market, as you said, M-Pesa is somewhat unique. The rest of the world, I think we're a long way out. And so, we're a bit agnostic to it, though. We have a huge physical agent network, 350,000 locations, 200 countries. It's going to be there for a very, very long time. and we're evolving, and those agents are evolving with us. So the banks, the post offices, the retailers, they're looking at new ways to interact with their customers as well, and we're evolving our product to be relevant there. So, I think it's going to be around for a long time. If it isn't, I think we're going to be relevant for a very long time. We're just going to be transacting a little bit differently than we have traditionally, and that's okay.
So let's shift gears real quickly. So one of the biggest barriers that I see for some of these startups that are coming in and offering remittances is global regulation. They can get 1 quarter, maybe 2 quarters, but it's really hard to scale globally. And MoneyGram obviously already has all those licenses, those relationships, and allows you to have a global business.
Right.
And I'm launching a fintech research product in the UK. One of the things that we're seeing is that, as I think the guy from Accenture mentioned, the regulator there is very focused on making sure startups not only scale in the country, but also across borders.
Right.
So I want to get your opinion on how likely you think it is that those global regulatory barriers come down.
Oh, well, that's a fantastic question. I think it's actually the non-standardization of regulation that causes the most frustration, I think, for everyone in the industry, certainly for MoneyGram. We've invested in the neighborhood of $100 million in the last couple of years in overhauling our compliance platforms and our compliance technology and the way in which we deploy our compliance systems around the world. Moving money through MoneyGram means moving money through banks. The banks want more information about the customers. Regulators asking for more information about the customers. Putting those standards in place by which we can all transact equally is extremely important. And I think what we find today is it varies by country. Central banks have different views of their market and the different requirements that they have to transact in a country. Large groups like FATF, large groups like FinCEN in the US, don't necessarily apply standards the same. The BSA law in the US, for example, hasn't changed in 20 years. The application of it, the way in which regulators monitor you has changed, but it's being inconsistently applied. And so I think it would be incredibly helpful for everyone if there could be a standard that was known and well explained. Otherwise, what we have to do is continue to make those investments, select the best platforms we can to help us have the best compliance, hire the best people we can, and make the investments to ensure that we're doing it right. And that's what we've been doing. That's what we're going to continue to do. And a lot of our time is also spent educating as well. So we have a lot of outreach to central banks, a lot of education with senators and ambassadors in different countries, congressmen in the US, trying to explain the value of our service, the importance of our service, and the importance of getting the regulations defined in a way that we can easily apply them. And so it would be a great hope one day that gets more standardized and that there's ways in which we can all partner.
So it sounds like what you're saying is it would be really great if that would happen, but it's probably not going to happen.
I'm sticking with it's probably not going to happen, at least for a while, for sure.
Okay, so you mentioned technology's role in this. One of the areas of fintech that's getting really hot right now is reg tech.
Sure.
Now, is that an area where you see a lot of growth potential? Are there going to be reg tech players that come in and solve this problem so that governments don't have to? And is that a business opportunity where MoneyGram might expand beyond its core business, for example?
Yeah, sure. I think that's a really interesting question. In our overhaul of our compliance platforms, we've selected NICE Actimize as our provider of our platform for our compliance services from a technology perspective. It's allowing us to automate a lot of things that were previously manually done. It creates a lot of efficiencies. It creates a lot of opportunity for us to really scale and do things differently across countries. The problem with it, however, is that they don't have a solution that's ubiquitous for every country. It has to be customized. And then we spend a lot of time writing our own rules as we monitor transactions, as we look at our business mix. We spend a lot of time putting in our own compliance rules and regulations, and that tends to be core to us. That is part of what we do as a money transfer operator. So when you look at it from that perspective, I think there's a lot of opportunity in the reg tech space. There's a lot of fraud prevention, and we can leverage those technologies, but in the end, I think you're going to have to continue to have your own proprietary homegrown systems that really provide the right level of regulatory coverage for your particular business. That said, I think there's been a lot of improvements in the technologies that you could buy. 20 years ago, there wasn't a platform that you could buy as a money transfer company. You had to sort of home build it. That's what we sunset. We're now using more standardized things. So I think it's coming, but I think it's still going to be ways off before there's something that everyone can use, ubiquitously or homogeneously, however you want to look at it.
And I asked a little bit about new business opportunities. So one of the things that I see in this industry and industries that have been disrupted in general by technology is that it's really about how much of your business depends on the transfer of information, because digital technology just tends to transfer information better than other forms. At least that's what we're seeing.
Yeah.
So as the entire industry moves to digital, there's opportunities where you could develop products much more quickly than you have in the past. And I wonder if, as you're developing technologies internally for money transfers, you see other opportunities that kind of go beyond MoneyGram's core business.
Yeah, well, I think there are a number of applications, and I think you've all seen a lot of those this week, of new and interesting ways to move money, different applications you can apply to that service. Our focus is on innovation of our core product. We have an amazing product, and okay, sometimes we get criticized that the front end is kind of boring because perhaps it's a cash-based interface. But that's why we're investing in kiosks. We just won a payments award for our kiosk technologies in the U.S. We just won a payments award for our new online service that we have in the U.S. where we've overhauled our old service and put a new platform forward. The interactions and connections we've made in the banking space so we can send money directly to account, the innovations that we've made in the mobile space so that we can plug in and move money between mobile providers and into mobile wallets is really exciting. And so we're going to continue to focus on that innovation. If things come along from that allow us that opportunity to leverage what we've built to push new things, we'll certainly do that. But we have a lot of work to do just on the core piece to really ensure that multi-channel, omni-channel experience is available for our consumers in the markets where it's relevant, that they have a differentiated service. We're going to be there, and that's what we're going to do.
Great. So one of the hot stories in the news this year, a number of hot stories in the news, are around financial inclusion, because you have.
I thought you were going to say Donald Trump. Sorry.
So you have things like the refugee crisis. You have the opening up of Cuba's the lifting of the embargo between the U.S. and Cuba. And I know these are hot button issues. So without getting too much into the specifics of those instances, I'd like to know a little bit more about how MoneyGram views financial inclusion and how you work in that area and how you play into that.
Sure. No, I think we play a huge role in financial inclusion. Simply from the size and importance of the market that we serve, $610 billion moving cross-border annually. There's a reason why a lot of that goes through companies like MoneyGram. We get money into small towns, small villages. We were able to put cash into people's hands in a matter of minutes. And it goes back to the 2 billion unbanked, underbanked people don't have, don't transact the way we do. They don't transact every day, utilizing those bank services. They need cash to pay for goods and essentials, to get education for their children, to support their families. And so we play a huge role in that. And so we are supportive of global migration. We're big fans of a global economy. We want the best for everybody. And when there's crisis like there are in Syria today, it's terrible to see. We wish we could help. We don't, transact in Syria. When there's opportunities to open markets like Cuba, we certainly want to be there to support that as well, because there's always a portion of the population that needs our service, and we need to be relevant, when we can be there. So financial inclusion is absolutely paramount. That's a lot what we talk to governments about. We want to make sure that our business isn't so overregulated that it becomes problematic for people to send money home, because it's just so important. It's such a needed service, and that's we emphasize every day with all the regulators, all the government officials, everyone that we can meet, everyone that can hear our message. We want to share it, because we want to make sure that money can get home, because in the end, it's about the customers, it's about the people in this world, and it's about their success.
Great. Well, I think that's about all the time we have, and I know, Alex, you have to catch a flight.
Yeah.
So we'll wrap up there, but thank you all for coming. I hope you enjoyed your Money 2020.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Good.
Right.
Appreciate it. Great job.